This video is brought to you by volunteeraudio.com, your #1 source for all things Harley Davidson audio. From individual radios, speakers, and amps to complete plug-and-play amp and speaker systems, we've got you covered. And once you've ordered your package from Volunteer Audio, it includes lifetime tech support. And we have the very best step-by-step installation video so you can install it yourself and save money. All right, so now it's time to put our fairing back on. Everything's tested great. But I want to show you this. There are two places here at your headlight that are going to line up with these two hooks on the inner fairing. So we're going to plug our headlight in. We're going to lift it up and let it drop onto those. And once we do, the fairing will pretty well hold itself until we get all of our bolts in. If you do not get that to fall into place, don't even try lining up any screws or bolts. It's just not going to work out for you. So what I'm going to deal with is I'm going to get around our little lights here. All right, so we're going to get our fairing pretty close to lining up. A little difficult to do this by yourself, but we want to try to get it a little bit above this and then get it to fall into those hooks, which we did not do. So we're going to try again. This can be probably the hardest part, I think, of the Road Glide installation, is getting your fairing to go all the way back in and line up with the hooks at the headlight. This has extra deep headlights. So in this case, my power and ground wire needs to be pulled up a little bit. So I'm actually going to take the antenna loose where I can zip tie it up a little higher, and then we're going to try hanging that again. So I can see the back of this. This does not have LED headlights, so they're a lot deeper than most of them you work on. All right, so let's try it again. It's looking a lot better from this angle, so let's see if we can get it in there. All right. So as I expected, that was my issue. So now our fairing is on the hooks. As you see, there's no screws or bolts in it, but it's hanging out right where it's supposed to. So we're gonna go down to the sides, make sure everything gets lined up on those. And we're going to put a couple screws here at the top to hold it till we get all that done. So I want to check this gasket around the top. It kind of got pulled under, so I'm going to put it back where it's supposed to go now. It's important that we just kind of keep an eye on all of these things to make sure they line up where they go. These little hooks are supposed to go underneath this inner fairing. So we'll pull it in with the two screws on the outside edges first. And then we'll go work down our sides. This is the same order you saw us remove it earlier. We definitely want to start with these two upper bolts. Definitely my least favorite part of these Road Glides is the fairing installation. Removal is pretty simple. All right, so once those are in, there's really no way that something could fall off or give you an issue. So now we're going to go to the sides. We're going to try to line up the way that this panel meets the inner fairing. And then we're also going to get our light back through and get it mounted. That's going to be the important part. Now let's get down here and check this out. So you'll notice these little ribs. These have to line up on the inside of some of the ribs. Let's try to get it there. There's quite a few of them to line up. Once you get them lined up, all of this will actually fall in and look a whole lot better. Had one more that wasn't lined up. There we go. So take your time, look at them, make sure they're all on the same side of the other ribs. And then you can start your bolt here. And then you can also feed your wiring up and get your light back in place. So now that these are where they go, I'm going to get a bolt. I'm going to put it in here at the top. Kind of get this locked in, and then I'll move down to the bottom. So everything appears to be like it's going to line up well over here. So now we've got to take this wire that goes to this light, and you've got to feed it back up in between the inner fairing and the outer fairing. We want the end result to be that it's back into this crack. Now we have to lift the fairing up till our holes line up back up. I make it look easy, but I swear this is not an easy part to do. All right, so I'm gonna get my screw in the bottom and then I'll put my bolts through there. All right, get our bolts and nuts to go through this part now. First, we're gonna start the nut on the front one here. Then our other one is actually more like a bolt. So we've got to get it lined up and get it started into our outside light. So I'm going to try to tighten the front one a little more. The back one's acting like it's wanting to start a little crooked. I know better than to keep going with it. What's happening is my fairing is wanting to stay up because of that bolt. So now I've got it started straight. Get it pulled on in now. All right, let's move to the other side, see if we can replicate and do the same thing over there. All right, again, just getting each one of those little fins lined up. The outer fairing fins go inside of the inner fairing fins. So once you get those where they go, it's going to make this much, much easier on you. So we're going to go ahead and get the top screw in here. Now, as we remove our hardware while we're doing an install like this, all of it goes in a clear container with separate bins. So when we get to this point, if we have any bolts left, we can now go back and try to figure out if it's something that wasn't used or figure out where we didn't get it put back in at. So we make sure we always get all of our bolts reinstalled. There we go, got it that time. I'm telling you, this is definitely the hardest part of the entire job on one of these road glides. Is getting the fairing on and getting it back together correctly. We got a little more going on now because we do have our new amp has a metal plate that lines up with these bolts. So we're gonna probably fight just a little bit trying to make sure we get all of that lined up. Gotta get our wiring up where it goes. Now we have to try to make sure we get in behind that bracket. Looks like we're lining up pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the front up a little bit more so it'll quit moving around on me. I'm telling you, this is probably still gonna look way easier than it actually is. And that's not ever the intent. The intent is never to make you think something's easier than it is. All right. I'm glad this is a little harder because the other side actually went way easier than it normally does, so I didn't want to mislead you. We're going to take the front loose. I'm going to try the back bolt without the front end. This is going to be the harder